The chair recognizes the honourable member for Killarney.
Before I start, it's unusual for me to speak so early. It's very, very unusual. Just walked in to sit down to be told that I'm speaking next. But, Madam Speaker, before I start, I want to ask a question for clarification. I could not figure out exactly where this property was. Is it the old Marsh Harbor Clinic or is it vacant land? If it's vacant land, then I feel that the individuals are being charged too much, especially behemoths trying to expand. And no, I think it should only be about 40,000. It should only be about 40,000, and I think you should look at it again. It's a bit too much. I'm very familiar with the area in terms of real estate. Madam Speaker, I rise today on behalf of the people of Killarney to offer my contribution to debate on a resolution to sell 1.35 acres of land in Abaco to Abaco Medi Center Limited. The land is being sold for $120,000. I support the resolution, however, I do not support the price. I think it should have been $40,000, if not less. I support the continued development of Abaco and its health services sector. And my administration did much work on the island in the aftermath of Hurricane Dorian, which was the worst natural disaster in our history and one of the most powerful storms ever recorded in this region. We spent tens of millions of dollars rebuilding the electrical and water networks, schools, bridges, docks, roads, clearing debris from the land and sea, and repairing the health services. Abaco has come a long way since the immediate aftermath of the storm. It appeared as if a nuclear bomb had gone off in Marsh Harbor when I first saw the island after the hurricane. Never in my life have I seen concrete buildings being broken and smothered as in the form of powder, and steel totally twisted and torn apart as if they were straw. And Madam Speaker, it reminded me of the bomb post-Hiroshima when I've reviewed the atomic weapon destruction in Tokyo. That was how ferocious Dorian was. I commend the people of Abaco for their strength. The storm placed a heavy burden on them, but did not break their spirit. Abaconians are a resilient people. The vibrant economy of Abaco and its keys are a testament to the creativity and determination of the peoples of those islands. Madam Speaker, as we discuss this land resolution sale to an Abaco Health Services company, I call on the government to also look more broadly at our Family Island health sector. It is important to ensure that we have the right number of doctors and nurses in our Family Islands. The residents of these small communities deserve to have their clinics staffed to ensure they are cared for when the time arrives. Too often, we hear of vacancies on certain islands or insufficient staffing. These are management issues the government should always keep their eyes on. There is no excuse for the people of the Family Islands not receiving the best care possible. small health concerns turn into major health problems when healthcare providers are not available to provide care early on. Madam Speaker, not everyone has the money to come to New Providence to seek medical services. And Madam Speaker, as we discuss this health services land sale in Abaco, on the broader issue of health care in the Bahamas, I continue to be alarmed by the statements that come from the government on the so-called specialty hospital they plan to build here in New Providence. This is the wrong project, in the wrong place, with the wrong price, the wrong financing, and the wrong workers. We know how much land is being sold to this company in Abaco. We know exactly how much land, 1.35 acres, is being sold to the company in Abaco. We know the company it is being sold to. We know the cost. There are so many things we don't know about the Chinese hospital that is going to be built in a heavily residential neighborhood in New Providence. What the New Day administration proposes is already a violation of what they pledged to the Bahamian people in their blueprint. Madam Speaker, everything I say, I have support documents here to back up whatever I say. They said in their blueprint, that they would, and I quote, build a new hospital in New Providence through public-private partnership with simultaneous improvements to conditions at the Princess Margaret Hospital, end quote. And after canceling the proposed new multi-storied infant and maternity block at PMH, the PLP was absolutely, now listen carefully, was absolutely desperate to find financing to build some sort of health care facility. I'm happy I got all attention. Had they continued with our plans, that facility would have been finished from April of last year. It would have been another major step in the ongoing redevelopment of Princess Margaret Hospital, which began with the critical care block, which was conceived and launched by the Hubert administration. And Madam Speaker, at that time, when I was Minister of Health, you sure?
To the chair recognizes the honourable member for Tall Pines.
Yes, the member for Kalani is in a different world. On coming to office, the member for Kalani had a concept of a four-storied complex that was in his own mind. The reality is that he did nothing. He produced nothing. He had no plans, and his whole attempt was an election ploy to try to create the illusion that his administration was about to implement infrastructure at the Princess Margaret Hospital. The reality is, he speak about this financing that he had in place. And on coming to office, we did an analysis of the financing with the Ministry of Finance and realized, yes, some financing was in the country, but the financing was tied up with small and medium-sized business, that there was a great cloud over that aspect of the financing that the Ministry of Finance wanted to renegotiate with the World Bank and the Bank of Santander. In the attempt to renegotiate, we were advised by the bank that we should start our negotiations all over again if we wanted to decouple the money that was allocated for the small and medium-sized business that the member had already earmarked for some members on his side of the fence. The reality is, we did not have the records. The records were not found by competent authority, and we were unable to assess it, and so we went straight to the bank. In doing so, we were advised by the bank to start over, which we did. And in doing so, we renegotiated what was left behind for the facility in Grand Bahama.
That's what you see there.
That's what you see going on now.
He lost.
I feel sorry
We
for
are
you.
on planet Earth. Come here. Come to Earth. But you will hear more. You will hear more. You will hear more as I speak. The member is completely out of his league, and I will speak to that. But I don't want to get it. I don't want you. No. I don't want you.
The chair recognizes the honourable member for Tall Pines.
Do it now and produce your documents. Produce your documents. Because I know what's going on, because it was my responsibility to negotiate with the Ministry of Finance to find financing for the 2 hospitals outlined in our blueprint for change.
And they're being built now.
And they're being built.
My clock is running. Madam Speaker, I am on Earth. Member, kindly join us.
Now that you have found the earth,
The chair recognizes
Now that you have found the earth.
from Kansas, Salvador.
right, and now that you so recognize the worth of health to our nation, could you explain why you did not complete the clinics in Cat Island, San Salvador, Rumkey, Eleuthera, and cancel all them? If you so, perhaps you could tell me that. No clinic. Tell us why.
Madam Speaker, they have taken some time from me, so I would kindly request at least 3 minutes at the end, because they have taken my time.
Yes.
But
I give you all the answer the question.
the day,
No clinic.
the day is a good day. Minister of Works, explain to the unearthly member, what design build means. Now let me carry on. Had they continued with our plans, that facility would have been finished. It would have been another major step.
The chair recognizes the honourable member for Tall Pines.
Facility the member is speaking for in Kalani is in his own mind.
No plans.
There's no plans. If you have them, produce them. We know what a design bill is. I'm not an infant. I know what design bill is. We are doing 2 of them now. No, I'm not premature. I'm not premature. I was born normal in my mother's home. We couldn't afford a hospital. We couldn't afford a hospital.
But you built one for mothers.
But listen here. When I was born at home. What we're doing now is we're building a maternity hospital that you couldn't do.
I didn't know you were breached. They did not make the version. I am so sorry. I am so sorry. I hope you're still acting like you're breached. Anyhow, Madam Speaker, it would have been another major step in the ongoing redevelopment of the PMH, which began with the critical care block. It appears that the PLP could not find a suitable public-private partnership to build. So they had to go shopping all around the world to borrow money. I can deal with you soon. I don't want my clock. Again, this was after they made the bad decision to cancel the loan and send the funds back be left in place for the new wing at the hospital. They messed up, listen carefully, they messed up the BPL hedge, causing Bahamians electricity bills to skyrocket. Listen, no, you will see. No, Madam Speaker, it is essential showing that the members have a history of messing up. They messed up by canceling our hospital plans too. And in the Tribune on May 13th, 2024, under the headline, I quote, China to fund new hospital, end quote. The Minister of Health confirmed yet again what I warned in this place about the PLP borrowing money from China. I warned that China has a policy that will only lend you money when you agree to them being the contractor and them having the workers. This $290 million, 290 million Chinese hospital will be built on by a Chinese company and largely by Chinese workers. Will
The chair
my question
recognizes the honourable
coming?
member.
No,
for
I know what
Tall
you
Pines.
asked. My question coming. My question coming.
The chair recognizes the honourable member for Tall Pines.
The member for Kalani is correct. When it comes to Chinese concessional loan funding, it is usually tied in with a Chinese contractor. What he is misleading this House about, tell me, that's why I say a point of order, you're misleading this House, is the fact that the building itself will be constructed with a combination of foreign and Bahamian labor. Okay, the reality is, like every responsible government in the country or around the region, this is nothing new to the Bahamas, and this is nothing new because it happened before with the Gateway Project when the former Free National Movement was in place. This is not the first time Chinese resources were brought into the country, but look at how it was handled. It is our responsibility as a responsible government to mitigate the effect of any labor component.
Thank you, honourable member.
Mr. colleague, will there be
nice,
many hundreds of workers or up to 1,000 or more workers? Under the plans my administration left in place, the vast majority of workers would be Bahamians. We had a Bahamian first policy. You'll speak to an architect afterwards. With this project, the PLP has a Chinese first policy. The Chinese hospital, Madam Speaker, is a great deal for China that the Bahamian people will have to pay for over many, many years. The Minister of Health told the newspaper, quote, "You're right." He said it again, typically, these concessional loans from China come with a labor component, and we're going to do our best to ensure Bahamians benefit financially from this project, end quote. What does that mean, going to do our best? Don't interrupt me now, let me finish. You got all day to answer, man. Is this the best we can do and say? Their best isn't good enough. Their best is not good enough. The best they could have done is to go with the project and that we left. Even if they needed to renegotiate parts of it, the truth is that the Chinese will be calling all the big shots on this project, and any Bahamian workers and perhaps a few small local subcontractors will be window dressing. This is a bad, terrible deal for the Bahamian people. The PLP is selling out the Bahamian people. Again, how many Chinese workers will build this Chinese hospital in the Bahamas? Since the Bahamian people are paying this loan through their taxes, that means the Bahamian people are paying the salaries of these workers. Now listen carefully. In the past, projects if past projects are any indication, many of these Chinese workers will have most of their salaries paid in Chinese currency in China. If most of the workers are Bahamian, the money would stay at home and go to Bahamian families and businesses. The Chinese also bring their own chefs and cooks. This means these workers won't even be using Bahamian food stores and restaurants much. Will there be 800, 1,000, or 1,500 workers? Will there be 2,000? That labor issue is just one question Bahamians need the answer to. Another question, Madam Speaker, concerns the price of the land the PLP administration plans to use for part of this project. I want all Bahamians to listen. Some of the land is owned by private companies, Iraq Homes. How much is being paid for this land? The Minister of Health has said repeatedly that they have some kind of handshake understanding that the government will either pay or swap land with Iraq Homes. But the Bahamian people need to know the answer to this question. We know the details of this land resolution here in Abaco, the 1.535 acres that is being sold for $120,000, and you're robbing the Bahamian as far as I'm concerned. We know that. We know the details of that. Why can't we know the details of this land acquisition with the Chinese hospital the PLP administration is building? We're watching the Prospect Ridge. Are you swapping land with Prospect that we had reserved for the young professionals? Or land in the West that are reserved for young professionals? That's the question. I don't know the answer. The Bahamian people want to know.
Good question.
The Minister of Health seems confused and completely out of his depth. Back to earth. He can't even keep enough ambulances on the road.
The chair recognizes the honourable member for Tall Pines.
The member for Kalani say I'm confused. I want to assure him that I have not thrown a fishing line from the moon.
Ever.
This one is not confused. And I am fully aware of exactly what's going on with this project. And there is no secret deal that you keep trying to put in the public domain. Let me finish. No, I'm finished. You put something out there that I need to correct. And I want to correct it right now. I made it very clear. And there is complete transparency in the process. That when we went to this 50 acres of land, we found 15.3 acres owned by a private individual. We sat with that individual and we told him the importance of our project, and he agreed that he would step aside and allow the government to go into a memorandum of understanding with him during the feasibility study when we were looking for financing. The reality why we did not capture the land in full detail is because we were seeking financing, and if the financing was not obtained, then there was no need to finalize the agreement. I want to let the Bahamian people know, and the member for Kalani, that the process for acquiring the land has begun. And the Ministry of Finance is in the negotiation phase, and the results of that transaction will be made public to the Bahamian people.
The member of whom you spoke, Sir Franklin Wilson, is a very competent, responsible individual who loves his country and does, you use it, and he does a lot for this country. He loves this country. Nobody would take that from him. All we're asking for is the facts. He can't even keep, that is, the minister can't even keep enough ambulances on the road or order new ambulances in a timely manner. Madam Speaker, he does not have the capacity to oversee a project of this size. According to the Tribune story, the minister confirmed that the 50-acre site will be located on the opposite side to residential areas on the road connecting JFK with Saunders Beach. The minister also suggested that this is, quote, the best and most suitable location capable of holding a multi-story structure the size of Bahama. That's the minister's quote, not mine. This is not the best and most suitable location. Indeed, it may be the worst and most unsuitable location. The minister says they are building a Bahama-size facility on 50 acres. Your quote.
The chair.
And you're quoting from a report that did not quote me fully. Let me correct you, Member for Kalani. Let me correct you. I was making reference to the geotechnical study and the quality of rock that has the capability to sustain a structure the size of. I didn't say I was building the size of Bahama. Bahama costs billions of dollars to build. I am building a facility that is earmarked to be somewhere between $283 to $290 million. I was speaking specifically to the geology of the rock and its capability to sustain a multi-story structure.
Thank you, honourable member.
I can only quote what is in the paper, according to the paper, what the minister said. Now you're changing what you said.
Chair recognizes the honourable member for Tall Pines.
I am not changing anything, and I don't want that to be put on public record. My quote indicated that the facility and the location rock, which is the geotechnical borings, have the capacity. No.
I understand that. But you should have corrected it.
They misquoted you.
Previously, listen, it's in the paper, your quote, and I'm tabling it.
That's
what
not
happened
what I
is,
said.
if it was wrong, just how I read the paper, so do you. You should have corrected it. It's not until now when I come to show that you are not, you are out of your league in terms of what you're saying. You now correcting it.
Point of order.
If you hadn't said
The
it,
chair recognizes it.
Point of order.
The honourable member for Tall Pines.
It's quite obviously the member for Kalani is out of his league when it comes to technical analysis of rock and property. Listen to me, Kalani. With all due respect, a primary school student will know that a $290 million loan cannot pay for the Bahama facility. Oh, please. Come on. Please.
Point of order.
I have a lot of respect for you, Member for Kalani. Let's take it to another level.
The chair recognizes the honourable member for Freetown.
Point of order, Madam Speaker. I had mentioned this previously where members opposite refer to newspaper reports as original evidence, so to speak. There is a dispute about the quote, unless Kalani is going to produce the reporter's recording. He has no basis to seek to contradict what a member in this place said he said. What he is seeking to rely on is what somebody else says. And there's a little game you do when you go into university where you get 10 people You give the first one a story and they pass it on, and by the time it reaches the 10th man, it's completely different from what you told the first man. So if Kalani wants to suggest that Tall Pines is changing, he has a duty to produce not a newspaper report, but the reporter's recording of Tall Pines. They always tell me they're recording me, and I have no objections. So if he is prepared to produce the reporter's recording to support what he says, he can assert that Tall Pines is changing.
Thank you, Honorable Member, and I totally agree with that.
What is recorded in the newspaper. But what you're saying is that in the future, we must question what the newspapers say unless we have your... So you basically throwing everything out. You are now throwing everything out. You are saying here, and I want the newspapers to hear you. I want them to hear you. You are saying here that the newspapers are unreliable. We cannot accept what they say unless they also bring along with them the recording. The recording.
Not unreliable.
Honorable members,
They're not infallible.
I don't think the member would have indicated that. I think he's saying sometimes misquoted. He didn't say they were unreliable now. Don't pull down the newspapers like that.
Madam Speaker,
Chair-
I have
Chair,
not
can I
seen
respond?
one newspaper that hasn't printed a retraction, a correction. All of the reporters who interview me record me. The member for Kalani clearly has a fixation with the newspapers as his primary source. He should also watch the news reports where the video shows what the member for Tall Pine says. All that I am saying, madams, because if there's a dispute between me and a reporter, the reporter pulls out the recorder and plays it. And if I'm right, they do a correction. And if they're right, I apologize. Now, he has the burden, since he wants to assert that Tall Pines is changing, to get it. Just talk to the Tribune and the Guardian and get the recording, Kalani.
Thank you very much. Thank you for protecting me, sir.
Honorable member.
I have great confidence in the reporters and what the newspaper write. And as I read their reporting, I accept it. But I won't make it a policy that I now want to hear you recording. Further, much of the land on which they propose to build this specialty hospital is on very low-lying land and not far from Saunders Beach. What happens to this facility if there's a Dorian-sized event with massive flooding and huge waves? What might happen to the specialty hospital, and how will people get there if the nearby roads are flooded? The road network near the proposed site is typically congested, especially the West Bay Street corridor. And most mornings and during lunchtime, getting between the roundabout on West Bay Street to Kentucky and further along takes a long time. Now imagine putting more ambulances and more patients, more nurses, more doctors, and more medical personnel on the roads surrounding the new facility. It took many millions of dollars to redo the roadworks around Bahama. What are the plans for new roadworks around this specialty hospital? How many more millions will this cost Bahamians? I'm certain you would engage in a traffic flow study. Will these roadwork contracts be given to Chinese also, or to certain PLPs, or to both? Madam Speaker, there are various communities in the area of the proposed specialty hospital.
The roading design, yeah.
This is a very large project.
The roading design, yeah.
And the Chinese build man camps on site for their workers to live in. If hundreds or more than 1,000 workers are in a man camp near our communities, Bahamian residents has a right to know that. You are not known for consulting. They are now trying to have so-called consultations on this project after they already made so many decisions we know nothing about. People shouldn't be confused, not me. The town hall meetings they are proposing are nothing but a public relations exercise after the fact. The big decisions have already been made. I call on the Prime Minister, Minister of Finance, to fully disclose all that had been agreed with the Chinese thus far. How can this hospital, well, the minister said that it won't be the size of Bahama. Obviously, the minister, that's his quote, The PLP plans, Madam Speaker, are murky and unclear as some of the low-lying and swamp-like land they want to build this facility on. By the way,
The chair recognizes the honourable member for
Yes,
Tall Pines.
I know the member is building his case, but I cannot let it stay on the record where he indicated that where we are proposing for the 50 acres is in swampland. That is incorrect. It is elevated some 14 to 17 feet in the area. That's what you say. But you know, we have our environmental impact assessment, and we know exactly. And by the way, I've walked this land at least about 40 times to see exactly what's happening with this land. So I'd like that to be struck off the record that we are building a hospital in a swamp. That is absolutely incorrect. And he is misleading this place, and he is misleading the Bahamian people. Well, listen here. Why don't you come and let me show you the drone and walk with me? Come walk with me. Come walk with me.
Thank you, honourable member.
thank you very much, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, as a
Honourable member,
veteran,
are you withdrawing that statement?
Madam Speaker, for me to withdraw a statement, I'd be withdrawing what was said in the newspaper. What statement do you want me to withdraw? What statement are you asking me to withdraw?
One that said about the hospital being built in a swamp.
Okay, good talk.
Which statement?
This is medical school.
You made a statement that we are constructing a hospital in swamp. Swampland, which is incorrect. It's okay if you could change it to say you suspect it to be low-lying, but do not say we're constructing a hospital in wetlands and swamp. That is incorrect. And I need to correct you on that because you're misleading this House. It's all right if you believe that, but you made a statement of fact. Okay, that's okay. That's okay.
Lying. If you say no swamp is there, I would accept it. But to my knowledge, the land is lying.
Fair enough.
Madam Speaker,
Members, let's move on with the resolution, please. Let's move on with the resolution.
I still maintain that it's a great mistake to place such an institution there. By moving from the PMH site, they will duplicate certain services requiring healthcare personnel our healthcare sector does not have and cannot afford. This is going to be a logistical nightmare, especially for staff, nurses, doctors, and patients who will have to shuttle between PMH and this facility, including during rush hour. New wings and facilities should be built on PMH. It would create efficiencies and keep our limited human resources in one place. This is a colossal mistake, a major and fantastic blunder. I support new healthcare facilities to improve healthcare. However, this is the wrong project, in the wrong place, with the wrong price, the wrong financing, and the wrong workers. I support the resolution, Madam Speaker, but I question as to the cost of the property 120,000 seems too much. Thank you, Madam Speaker.